Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray and I like to read. Today's video we're going to be doing a book to movie comparison of The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I read the book back in November, watched the movie back in December. I was editing this video and realized I didn't film an intro for this, so you guys have no idea what the video is about. Nothing too in-depth, just my thoughts and my feelings about the book as I'm reading it, my ratings on the book, and then also my thoughts and feelings about the movie. So if you're looking for something a little bit more critical, I'm sure there's videos out there. This one's just not that. So we're going to go read the book, watch the movie, and then I will give you all my thoughts, ratings, reviews, opinions on everything. Go grab your favorite drink, grab a book, and come hang out and read with me. At the end of part one, like I knew from the beginning of the story that it wasn't going to be who I thought it was going to be. It's never the obvious answer, but at the end of the part one, like I kind of knew where it was going in that capacity. But oh my god, I wasn't expecting this in part two. I had a feeling. So much of this book reminds me, like it just reminds me a little bit of Verity. It's not the same exact storyline and things that are happening obviously, but so much of it has been reminding me of Verity. The eerie backdrop of it, the way that the suspense is set up, it's just reminding me a lot of Verity in that capacity, but it's still like I'm very invested. I mean, I started it yesterday and I'm on page 194 today, so I think I read about 50% over last night and this morning before I got into doing work and everything, but quite literally it's just so fast paced. Like I feel like I haven't been this locked into a book in a really long time in terms of just wanting to keep flipping the pages to find out what happens next. And I just forgot how fast-paced thriller books are, but I feel like all the books that I've been reading have been taking me so long because there's been a lot to them. But with this one, I just feel like it's such an easy bingeable read that I'm just flipping the pages constantly, and I feel like I'm so in the story that it just, yeah, it's very quick, very bingeable, very fast-paced, and so I'm really in it. But yeah, this is yeah, I forgot how entertaining thriller books can be. So there's something that happened with one of these characters that you find out throughout the first part of the book, but I didn't know if we were going to get the backstory about that in this book because I know it's a series and I don't really know what the other two books are about. We are finally getting backstory on what happened that led up to that moment, so we'll see how this goes. I was really interested and intrigued because, like I said, a lot of this reminds me of Verity, so I feel like I have an idea of where it's going, but I'm not 100% sure. This might be the first Freida McFadden book that I rate over 3 stars. I haven't been the biggest fan of her other books. I don't know, I just haven't been the biggest fan of the other books, and I haven't found one that I was like, yeah, this was so good. But this one might be the first 4-star Freida McFadden book that I've ever read, and it doesn't even feel like the same kind of writing to her other books. This book just feels so different from her other books that I've read that I actually am really enjoying it, and I haven't really loved any of her other books. Like, they've been okay. So I finished The Housemaid last night, and I was excited because I thought it was going to be my first 4-star Freida McFadden read, but unfortunately we didn't make it there. I ended up last night after reading it landing on a 3.75 star, which is pretty close, but then I woke up this morning and I was like, no, I think it's more of a 3.5 star. And let me tell you what I liked about it first, and then I'll tell you what I didn't like about it. So this book was so bingeable, it was so fast paced, it was so easy to follow. I don't think I've ever read a book that fast. I started it not last night but the night before, and I finished it last night, and I finished it in 2 sittings, which is like rare for me to have the time to do, but it was so fast paced that I was flipping through it like crazy, and yeah, I can't believe I finished it that quick. But the storyline was pretty straight to follow. The plot, I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. It was definitely entertaining for sure. My tip with this book though, and the reason why I gave it 3.5 stars is, I mean, at some points I had issues with parts of the plot. Some things just didn't feel really realistic, but then once you got the backstory, it was like, okay, that maybe made a little more sense. But the way that it ended, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and it just got very gory. I wasn't expecting it to go in the direction that it did with certain aspects of it. it. And yeah, I just wasn't the biggest fan of where the story was at the end of it, but even the way that it ended in the epilogue, like I feel like I don't know if I want to continue the rest of the series because, and let me know if you've read The Housemaid, let me know if you think I should continue the rest of the series, because I feel like what we're going to get in the next book is just a copy paste of this story with different characters, and I feel like I don't want to read the same story over and over again, because where we left off in the epilogue, it seems like it's going to be the same kind of formula in the next story. So I don't know, I'm not really interested in reading this whole thing over again. Of course there's going to be certain differences, but if it's going to follow a similar pattern, I've already read it once, like I don't need to read it again. This book did remind me a lot of Verity because I read Verity a couple years ago, but it was good in terms of it was fast paced, very bingeable, very, very entertaining, and I was flipping through it like crazy. However, I just didn't love all the plot points, and I didn't love the way that it ended in the epilogue. And I don't know, I feel like I guessed certain things of it. There were certain things that definitely took me by surprise where I wasn't expecting. I definitely guessed some things, and then other things, the ones that took me by surprise, kind of somewhat didn't make sense. I enjoyed some of the plot twists, and other plot twists I wasn't expecting, and the ones that I guessed were pretty straightforward and I knew it was going there. But I don't know, I feel like I was expecting a little bit more out of the book, and especially out of the ending, but it just, obviously the ending kind of left it off for the next book. But I have no desire to continue the series if it's just going to be the same thing over and over again in terms of like the storyline. So if you have read this series, let me know what you think, but also let me know, do I continue the series? Like, is it just the same thing? I need to know because I feel like I asked my mom, because she finished the series and she said, you know, she liked it, same, but there's different characters, and I was like, but is it the same story? So I need to know if I'm just going to be reading the same story, because then I'm not really interested in reading it. But again, like this was such a fast-paced book, and I'm like, I'm just wondering, like, I don't know, maybe I need to read more thrillers, because I have not read a book this fast in a very long time. So I ended up landing on a 3.5 star, and I think that's where I'm sticking with this one. But yeah, a very fast-paced story. I finished it in 2 nights, and I'm very proud of myself because I don't get to do that often with books. So I would recommend it if you're looking for a very fast-paced book where you're like wanting to flip the page and find out what happens next. I like that we were getting multiple perspectives at the end of the book and seeing into the minds of some of the other characters, because I was curious about it. And I don't know, I like the way that Freida McFadden pieced everything together and wrapped up the story in terms of seeing the different perspectives of another character. And I think that was really well done, because being in that character's head, you got to see everything from such a different side of things where you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. But I don't know, the way that it went, I didn't really respect that character for what happened and what that character did by the end of it. But I mean, yeah, just a crazy, wild, fun experience. But 3.5 star, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, and I'm gonna go watch the movie. So I don't know when I'm gonna post this video, but I'm planning on doing a read the book, watch the movie, give my thoughts on the comparison. So we'll see where this vlog ends up. But I am planning on watching the movie in December, so you might not see me till December. It's November right now, but those are my thoughts, and I'll come back and chat once I've watched the movie. Okay, it's been about a month and a movie later. It's been 2 months. It's been 2 months. Okay, let's just be real. It's January now. It's been 2 months. However, I finished the movie, so I want to talk about it. I think the movie was really well done. I think the actors in the movie were perfect for the roles. I think the pacing was incredibly well done. It was a long movie, but it didn't even feel long. Everything was moving along so quickly, and everything moved at a pace that was just perfect. I've never seen a book to movie adaptation done so well. I loved the movie, and this is the first time, and maybe the only time I'll ever say this, but the movie was better than the book. It was better than the book. It was so good. It was so well done. The pacing was incredible. What I really, really, really appreciate about the movie, and what I think that a lot of movies miss the mark on when they're being adapted from a book to a movie, is some of the plot points that might be important to one reader, maybe not the other reader, but maybe it might be important to somebody. Typically, some things get cut out of movies, obviously. And what I really enjoyed about this movie, and what the directors and writers and everybody did with this one, was even if they cut out a scene that was important in the book and was instrumental to part of the plot moving forward and just building that character development, it was still mentioned. It wasn't completely cut out. There was still like an overhead talking about certain aspects of the book in the movie, and I really liked that, because I feel like when I watched It Ends With Us after it came out, I read the book like years ago when I was getting back into reading, and I just remember it being so jumpy and choppy, and so many big parts of the book that made the characters who they are and made sense to the story and the plot moving forward were cut out. So it just really just felt very messy. This story felt very complete in itself, and they changed a few things, and the way that certain things happened were different than what happened in the book, just to make it a little bit gory and I guess more intense, and to give the viewers a more intense experience of what was going on, and just to make the characters a lot more intense as well. It was done so well. I don't have any issues with the movie at all. I think it was done so well, and these actors, I've always loved Amanda Seyfried and and I've loved her in Mamma Mia, I've loved her in Les Miserables, I've loved her in everything that she's done. She's always been one of my favorite actresses, and I've never really watched Sydney Sweeney in anything, which I think she did a really good job with the role. I think that they both played the characters so well and so true to the characters in the book. And there were certain things that in the book, they changed certain things about the appearance and all of that. It was really well done. The actors all did an incredible job. I can't wait to see what's next from all of them. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm not one to say this, but the movie was better than the book. It was better than the book. I'm sorry if you felt differently. I'm sorry if you're an avid books are better than movie person. So am I for the most part, but this movie was just better than the book. And let me know if I should read the rest of the series or if I should just cut my losses now and just be happy with the way that the book to movie adaptation went. But I do think that they're making a second movie with the second book. So if that's the case, then I'm gonna have to read the second book. Thank you so much for watching. If you stayed this long, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with my content, and I hope to see you in the next one.